It is said that when you are ready, the teacher appears. And I want to add to that, that when you are ready, the teacher disappears. With the underlying truth of that statement being you are on your own. We're all on our own. We don't feel that when we're first born. We have this feeling of being cared for, protected, guided, if we're lucky. We feel that we are set upon the journey of our life by parents, friends, teachers. Information comes in, we're guided in particular directions. But every one of us knows as we begin this journey, or we learn it certainly as we're on the journey, that at some point, it's just you. You are finding your way. There are a lot of people out there who are possibly telling you their version of how to travel, how to move forward, how to go. But you're the one who's got to figure it out. You're the one who has to go, I believe that, I don't believe that. That sounds like good advice, not such good advice. And you start to cognate a life. And you start to realize somewhere down the road that for all of the teaching that's come into your life and all the teachers who've pointed you in certain directions, you're the arbiter of where all of that goes, of where it all heads. You are the person who made the decisions and you have to live with them. And that's a big calling because life gets more and more complex. It becomes less uh, knowable. It's not what you can pin down anymore. And you can get very lost in the journey into life. And you can also get very rigid in this is how it is, which is an incredible protection. You can have certain groups of teachers tell you this, 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 this. You go, yes, done, okay. And you never, ever rethink it. You never consider it. You become dogmatic about this is the way. And then at some point in life, things start to fall away. Your health, your memory, your sense of well-being, your sense of achievement and accomplishment all starts to fall away. And then there's just you, and you are alone. And what do you do with that? What do you do with your lack of certainty? What do you do with your lack of preparation? All of these kindergarten teachers and elementary school teachers and professors at the university have all fed their systems into you, and they have either guided you well through life or not. But at some point, and I can speak from experience of aging, all of that falls by the wayside, starts to. And you may become gracious in letting it go. You may become hostile and trying to hold it in place. No, 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 this is how it is. I'm certain of it. This is the truth. This is where I'm headed. This is what's going on. Or you may be wildly confused by the adventure in front of you. But I will tell you, the adventure in front of you is going to be, in the end, just you. Now, there is a silver lining, but let me, before I get to the silver lining, talk about something that was going to be the subject of this talk today, because it's been playing in a big way in my head, my psyche, my kishkas, as we often call them. It's called grief. Grief is, it's one of the worst experiences in the human journey, the most painful, the most inevitable in life. and it has to do with loss, with the ultimate experience of loss. And I have to tell you, going through my personal journey, that this experience of grief is becoming more palpable. And it is exceedingly familiar. And I say that in the way that when I took my LSD trip in the 1960s, my first words as this unbelievable, strange opening to the unknowable occurred was, oh, this again. It was unbelievably familiar. And grief, for me, in a psychedelic sense, is a return to the, oh, this again. It is unbearably and unbelievably familiar because it takes away everything, including all of your teachers, all of your beliefs, all of your certainties. It can, unless you're just knotted into them, but it starts to take away everything. And you are finding yourself in a place of profound loss and sadness, despair. All of these various things, these notes of very familiar tones that come out of some of the great music we've listened to, it takes us right there. This sense of being completely on your own, by yourself. And what you might do at that point, certainly I've done it, is I reach out to my significant other, to Blanche, and I'm like holding, because the barrier between me and the ultimate aloneness is my wife. And of course, my family, my friends, all of you are all, in a way, patterns of holding, patterns of attention, patterns of care, all of these wonderful things. But I know I am being extracted from this space of connectivity and everyone I love. And I know that I am going to go through this next portal, if you will, all by myself. There's grief in that. But then there is, and this is a teaching which you can come upon on your own, or you can trust another person to tell you, but ultimately it's your discovery. That which is standing between you and the release from profound suffering is this part of you holding on to you. The part of you that holds on to you is your suffering. The part of you that learns to kind of let go, let it off your back, let it disappear, let it rise out of the equation. And as you start to fall away from you, the ground of your being reveals itself. The ground of being in the journey of human life, going through kindergarten and day-to-day existence, is a ground that you believe in totally as a dynamic, physical, material, contextual, narrative force. But it's temporary. It's always been temporary. It's only here for the moment, and it's an amazing moment. And if you miss that moment, that almost becomes a greater source of suffering and grief. Don't miss the moment. While you are in it, while you are part of manifestation, while you are in existence in this space, acknowledge it, embrace it, maybe even love it. It means that when you leave it, there's going to be more grief and possibly more suffering, but you will have something real to be grieving over, something real to be suffering about, the loss of all of this. And yet, if you have done any of this inner traveling, this life inside as opposed to just your life outside, if you've begun to go measuring yourself in the horizontal and the vertical, you begin to find depth. And depth which is called deep suffering and deep grief. Depth is the key word to that because it takes you into this place of being and knowing. And it is, I tell you this because of my own experience, it is comforting. It is welcoming. It is beyond familiar. It is the place in which this dance of life has always been programmed and choreographed. It is coming from this profound inner space that most people in this lifetime are ignoring for a lot of reasons. One of them simply that it's so entrancing. It's so unbelievably involving. It is very hard to be in this life and not think of it as all there is and the totality, even when there are people who will tell you, whoa, there's more to it. There is source in it. It arrives from something. It is part of the existence of the world. And some people will tell you it's called God. And you immediately crystallize the idea of God as a force, as a thing, as an idea, and you make it kind of comfortable and you contain it. But it is not knowable. It is not containable. It is not anything you can get your head around. It has you in it. And that when you go into the ground of being and you go deeply into the ground of being, it announces itself in a way that is so profound that there is no containment for it in your brain, in your mind, in your core sense of who you are. It transcends that, is bigger than that. And the one thing that grief really does is it takes you deeply, deeply, deeply into the journey of being constructed as a separate entity for a period of time and then having to let go of that. That hurts. It hurts, especially if you're connected to life, if you are loving life, if you're having an amazing ride in life. It really hurts to let it go. On the other hand, if you have any practice at all, any idea that there is an inner journey that's going to require that, and you've learned how to let go, accept, surrender, acknowledge, all of those key words that help you when time comes, when this vast familiar thing of grief comes back, you go, yes, yes, of course. And you open to grief. You don't run from it because it is going to take away all of the separate core tissue of your idea of who you are. It's going to let go of all of that stuff, of your past history, of the amazing ride you just took, of the sun, the moon, the stars, the trees, the clouds, and the earth. It's going to take all of that away. And you have to let it go. You have to let it go because as it goes, as you will start to discover, I preach this now, but I'm not certain. It's just my experience, but I will tell you, as it all goes, the thing that stays there deep inside is this vast oceanic sense of getting to ah is not easy. And it fills you with suffering and grief because you have to let go of the expression of ah to return to the truth of it, to the core of it. You have to be willing to let go, surrender, free yourself, or even begin to touch it before the time comes for you to evaporate from this materialized existence. That's a real journey. And we are all on that journey. Every one of us is on that journey. And we are so lost usually in the particulars of it and the daily, day-to-day aches and pains and worries and fears and all of that stuff that we forget that there is a kind of roadmap to the evaporation of everything and the finding of what has always been there, which is you, yourself. It is the core of you, and it is the core of all things, and it separates out all of the pieces and all of the memories and all of the particulars, and it gives you the thing that is imbuing your life even as you're listening to these words. This is not this is not just talk. It's not just an idea. I mean, it may come across that way, but it involves a kind of yearning or a reaching or a practice or a persistence in yourself during the course of your life that allows you, when all of it starts to be dismantled, and it will, and the familiarity of that grief starts to reoccur, that you go, I will be done. If you haven't done the work, which is true of most people, I suspect, it will be done for you. You will be dismantled because you will be. Your memories will be taken away, your experiences, your loves, your joys, your fears, it will all be taken away. And if this is true, and my experience is that it is true, you will watch that occur. And you have a choice. Give it over or go, no, no, no. All I'm trying to teach you is don't go, no, 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 because it's useless. There's nothing you can do to keep the manifested in manifested state other than possibly, this is part of the Buddhist teaching, certainly Hindu teaching, come back and learn it again. You'll go, no, no, no. And they'll go, okay, try again. You're back in this again. It'll be the same teaching, I think. I may be totally full of it, but my experience is that this is a ride. Teaching is at the core. You all know from having gone through this life that you spend the first 20% of your life in studies, learning, being taught by your parents and your teachers and everybody else. And then the real journey starts when the teacher goes away. There you are on your own. Even what I'm saying now, which is teacherly in a way, I'm teach you something, is in the end something you have to come to on your own journey in your own way, because there's nobody left. My teacher, Rudy, was an amazing teacher in terms of structural grasping of this process. He's gone. And I know the day he died, I know from that moment I was on my own. And being on my own at that moment was the beginning of my journey. Now I have to figure it out. So that's what I've been doing. I've been learning. I have been sharing what I have been learning. And you can take this in any way you want. But in the end, don't say, well, Bruce said, because that's not going to mean anything. You've got to go with what your inner voice tells you. If your inner voice isn't connected to the GPS of your existence, you're going to have a lot of strange misdirection coming from all sorts of different sources. And you will go, blah, 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 and you leave this world with, if your memory is still intact, with a lot of confusion. There's some gift in the memory going away. I will tell you that from me and Blanche on our particular journey. There's some gift to it. It's complicated, but there's a gift. As Blanche says to me every moment, and how she says, we're living in the moment. This is what the whole spiritual journey is. We're living in the moment. And there's some truth to that, because we can't remember hardly anything. I mean, it's going faster and faster. On the other hand, the thing that is announcing itself more and more dramatically, if you will, and specifically, is that 50 years of, well, it's been longer, 60 some years of sitting, have brought me to a place where I can say to you that grief in deep terms is a final process of letting go of the core essential reality of your life and your being. And you need to become available to that, and you will only do it on your own. There won't be anybody else to help you in the deepest version of it. Connect to who you are, connect to your core being, and you will discover, as you let go of the separate named version of you, you will find the unnamed, unknowable, unrealizable reality that has always been there from the beginning. And that will be the very thing you've been looking for and living in your entire life. So enjoy being on your own. Love you all. Any questions from the teacher or for the teacher? I can't see you all, unfortunately. You may have to speak up because I got two screens here. I'm not getting any idea of questions. Okay. So um, let me just say again, how grateful I am that you guys appear. Um, I really do want to make sure you understand the time of teaching is in some ways limited by all the processes uh, of aging and everything else that's going on. So this is available until it isn't. And I really love you. I really, really, really honor your commitment to this inner process. And I do think you'll be rewarded by it. I don't think it's a waste of your time sitting still, asking for help to surrender, going deep into yourself, and being guided by what you find. I think you will find that's much better than the cognitive self or the teacherly self that you give power to other people with. It's really about you. It's really about knowing and finding your way and being guided by something that's voiceless and very powerful.
Hey,
So,
Bruce. Bruce,
yes.
this is Mark.
Okay.
Hey, Bruce. Uh, you made that last comment about memory going away and Blanche mentioning being more present. My mother, I went through that process of Alzheimer's, and for about a 4-year, 5-year stretch, I was with her in that space. Beforehand, she was suffering, angry with my father because, at a young age they separated, blah, blah, blah. And so she had a life of fair amount of suffering. And then this thing started to take that away. And the more that happened, the more she was free. And it was the most amazing time with her in those 4-year stretch. I tell my family, my sibs, like, don't lose track just because she's losing something, she's gaining something else. And it was the most profound time with my mother I had ever had.
Mark, thank you. I've said that in some ways true with my mother-in-law and other people I've seen with memory loss, Alzheimer's. They lose all the drama. They lose all the anger. They lose everything that they remember was done wrong to them. All of it falls away. They can't find it. And they're going, oh, okay. And I've said this many times. I give the expression of my mother-in-law, well, what are you going to do at the end of her life and the last hours of her life? Well, that's a gift. You can arrive at spiritual awakening without ever having sat in meditation for a second. It's kind of there. And in the end, we all do. It's just a matter of how unpleasant the unraveling is. You can let it go or you can hold it tight. That's kind of your choice. And if it's taken away before you leave this plane of existence, that makes it so much easier. So much easier. And if you're struggling to hold on, then it's a struggle. All we're doing with this meditative thing is to create acceptance for the what is in this moment, the unraveling of this moment and the emptiness of this moment, and just letting yourself be taken by this unbelievable oceanic force that brought us into existence and will remove us from existence. It's a great ride. Enjoy every minute of it. But when the time comes, go, thank you. Ciao. That's what we're looking to do. George.
That's exactly what I remember here is you describing Barbara Buster's.
Yeah. My George and I had share a wonderful friend, Barbara Buster. Her last lines to Blanche and I as we were leaving her bedroom for the last time of ever seeing her again. And she looked up at us and she went, toodaloo. And to me, if I can achieve that, my life will have been perfect. Anyway, toodaloo to you all. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see those of you who I see next week.